that everybody associated with the airline, with the aviation business, makes money except the airlines.
Greetings from G KRISH. Welcome to my next episode on G KRISH TV. Hope you find time to see my videos uploaded so far. Very recently, I uploaded 3 travel videos. It is about Washington, D.C. and its neighborhood attractions. Continuing on the subject of travel, today I have a guest. He is an aviation industry expert. He is the most sought after panelist on national TV debates on aviation and also on corporate governance. He is an author. His opinions are also sought by leading English newspapers and also financial dailies on aviation. He is also recipient of Asia Jyoti Award for organizing the Asian Games in 1982. So it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Jitender Bhargava to talk on aviation, the current scenario after COVID-19 relaxation. So welcome, Mr. Jitender Bhargava.
Thank you.
Very happy for allotting time to G KRISH TV viewers. So let me begin the interview. Globally, Indian aviation is 5th in its ranking. Domestically, aviation is 3rd. But having said that, we see the leading domestic carrier Indigo, which has got a share of 57% in domestic airline operation, has reported 2 consecutive quarterly losses for the current year. So what is your take or what is your reading of the situation, sir?
You see, it's not a question of only Indigo sustaining losses for 2 quarters. The reality is that airlines world over are losing money because post-COVID, while the market has rebounded, there are very many factors that are pulling down the industry. One, of course, is because of the Ukraine-Russia war. The fuel prices have shot up. And fuel prices this year alone, 2022, are somewhere like 90% up. All of the capacity with the airlines has not been deployed simply because either there is shortage of pilots, aircraft maintenance engineers, cabin crew, ground staff in various parts of the world. After the COVID, when the airlines operations were suspended, a lot of airlines gave VRS to their employees, laid them off, and they haven't got back. So when you have a capacity constraint on one side, market having rebounded, oil prices being high, the fares are also high, but not in terms of good enough to compensate for the increased operational costs. So airlines are losing money. Leave aside this period of post-pandemic, the reality of Indian market is that ours is a price-sensitive market with high operational cost. So even in usual circumstances, usual environment, airlines have been losing money. Let's not lose sight of the fact that 3 out of 4 airlines that have been set up since 92, 93 have shut down. Well-established airlines with good quality product like Jet Airways, Kingfisher have failed to survive after not being able to make profit in any quarter ever since their inception. That's the harsh reality. And the biggest proof of it is that Tony Fernandez, AirAsia, came to India. And Tony Fernandez has been running a very successful business model in Southeast Asia and Asia. Even he could not make money in the Indian market. India is a growing market. More and more capacity is being deployed by the airlines. But if the capacity deployment is higher than the rate of growth, you will naturally have airlines trying to lure passengers, increase their market share at the expense of profitability. And if you do this for a long period, the airline future gets under threat. And this is a simple underlying message that airlines have failed to understand.
Mr. Bhargava, under the circumstances, as aforesaid by you, what is the general suggestion you give to the airlines? How to overcome this situation?
You see, there are too many stakeholders and too many policy changes to be brought about if India is to be made into a sustainable aviation industry. First, the government. Government has to facilitate that taxes are not too high. Airline industry is not treated as an elitist industry, but as a catalyst for economic growth. So the moment government reduces the taxes, particularly on ATF, you'll find the cost of operation going down. Then, of course, are the airlines themselves. Because you have the vested interest of keeping the market stimulated through low fares so that you get a decent load factor for your particular airline, and because you place orders for a large number of aircraft, the market must keep growing. Now, if you have this in view, what happens to the airlines which do not have very deep pockets? So it is not only government which is to act. Second is also the airlines, which has to have some modicum of discipline that, look, let us not sell our seats below the cost of producing a seat. Because in your quest to garner market share, you're sacrificing profitability, which is not a good thing. And third, of course, are the third stakeholders, passengers. They've got accustomed to low fares because in a competitive era, all airlines were offering a certain level of fares, now which have come to be normalized. So anytime the fares go up during festival times or extended weekends, etc., there's a certain kind of impression created that airlines are fleecing the passengers. They've got accustomed to low fares and they're very, very price sensitive. The moment the fares go up, even for legitimate reason, not that it's going to add to the profitability of the airline, the number of passengers flying goes down. As we witnessed in the months of June, July, etc., when the ATF prices went up, the fares went up relatively higher, number of passengers dropped. So it's basically role to be played by the government, the airlines, and the market operators. The tragedy of Indian aviation has been that everybody associated with the airline, with the aviation business, makes money except the airlines.
Okay.
Whether it is the government, the oil companies, the airports, the hotels surrounding the airport, ground handling companies, everybody makes money. The restaurants in the airport, everybody makes money because of the airline industry. But the airline industry doesn't make money. And then the quarterly results are declared, like you mentioned about Indigo having sustained losses in the last 2 quarters. If Indigo, an otherwise successful airline, commanding 55% plus market share, having a good business model, cannot make money, what will be the future of not so lucky airlines? And that's been the reason for the demise of so many airlines in the Indian market. And one thing that we must remember also is the fact what J.R.D. Tata said in 1953, before the industry was nationalized. He said there have been too many airlines in the business. What we need is a small number of airlines, but financially strong airlines. But what we are unfortunately witnessing is that we have large number of airlines operating and not many with deep financial pockets and not being able to make money. Take the case of Vistara under the House of Tatas in Singapore. Has it made money in any quarter since its inception?
Yes,
the answer is no, because it's not the airline management, the way it is running the airline. It's the ecosystem that is surrounding. High cost of operation, taxation, landing charges. Then you have price sensitivity of customers, oil prices, sale tax, and everybody wanting to make money. And airlines have not been united in this effort to put enough pressure on the government and said, look, we need to have a sustainable business model.
Okay.
And you cannot say that, look, half a dozen airlines will operate on each sector, cutthroat competition will come in because it is good for customers, not realizing that when an airline shuts down operations, many employees lose their jobs.
Sir, you mentioned all the stakeholders in aviation, excepting the airlines, everybody is making profit. Even the banks who lend money to airlines, they are made to run to realize that money. So I think the airlines first, then followed by banks who lend money to the airline, they are also affected, isn't it, sir?
You see, there was a time when Indian market was just evolving in the early 90s when private sector was allowed operations. Banks lent money without understanding that the people who are promoting the airlines neither have requisite experience nor do they have a proper business model. So take the case of Kingfisher and Jet. When Kingfisher was lent a certain money, they defaulted, they restructured the loans, and then restructured the loans and kept giving them more money in the hope that one day they will make money. But now that's no longer the situation because airlines have been raising money through issue of shares in the market. Recall, Jet Airways had the IPO, priced their share at 1,125 rupees or so, but the share never went up to that level. Now, one can always question, why did mutual fund companies invest so much money about the equity of Jet Airways? That was the nascent stage. People did not understand. They all attributed that if Air India and Indian Airlines were losing money, it was entirely due to government ownership. But they should have realized that it was much beyond a right business model, a right business environment, passengers being able to pay requisite, the fare that should be commanded by an airline. Now, if you look up the reality of Indian market, the low-cost airlines and the full-service carriers, and you go to any travel portal and see the fare between the low-cost airlines and the legacy airlines is not much, notwithstanding the fact that a legacy carrier, full-service carrier, has fewer number of seats on the same aircraft as compared to low-cost airline. Besides the fact they give you food on board the flight, they have more crew on the flights. Some of the airlines even give audiovisual programs on this. So there's a plethora of reasons why airlines have not. But the banks have become wiser of late.
Yes,
they are not rushing to lend money to the airline because they know it's a tricky business.
True. Under the difficult circumstances aviation industry is facing, airlines, rather in particular airlines, is facing due to a variety of reasons, which you explained very well, how Indian-based carriers can become world brand carriers.
Air India has a large business plan to operate direct flights. There's no reason why Bangalore should not have had a direct flight to San Francisco, one Silicon Valley to another.